sold her soul to darkness for a power greater than sight.
There are some children, and they pose a threat.
Searches for her next victims. No! An all-new Angel.
Hello, ho, 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 and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm William Shakespeare.
I'm your other host, Mary Shelley.
Finally. Okay, Mary Shelley. This week, we will be tic-tac-toeing into Season 1, Episode 21 of Angel, the penultimate episode of Season 1 of Angel, Blind Date.
Yes, we will. Did you say tiptoeing?
No, tic-tac-toeing.
Oh, tic-tac-toeing. Okay.
Tic-tac-toeing. And so thanks for joining us this week. I've been one of you. No. So anyway, James, it's been a really long time since we've seen each other. How are you? What's going on? What's new? And how are your nipples?
I'm okay. Nothing new. Same old, same old. Nipples are fine.
That's good. That's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Or, well, you know, where my nipples used to be are fine.
Right. You're now mannequin flat.
Right. Right. But, yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if the area will tan or if I'll just have like white, just white dots that won't tan where my nipples used to be.
It would be cool. It'd be really best if they didn't.
Right. So, unfortunately, though, I don't have like a backyard, like a private area where I can sunbathe anymore. No. And I don't want to sit out in the front yard without my shirt on. So,
you don't have because I've lived in a townhouse before, like what you're living in now. You don't have like a back patio with like a privacy fence around it. Not very big, but like 10 by 10 or something.
Nope.
That's lame. Where you live sucks. You need to move. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know where'd we leave off? I asked you how you are and all that. So
how are you?
Me? I got to tell you, my life is so interesting that the average person would not be able to handle it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's insane, the shit that I get up to. Insane. Which I can't go into on the podcast because I'd have to kill all the listeners.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy shit, man.
It's wild, bro. It's wild. It's wild in fucking Naptown, let me tell you. Would you do me a favor, though? Seriously?
Sure. What?
Would you deep fry us some dates and deets for this episode? I'm in the mood for something fatty and deep fried and crunchy.
No. I'm gonna put the dates and deets in the air fryer.
Oh, my roommate has an air fryer and it's so lame. Everything tastes like it wants to be deep fried, but its wife put it on a diet that it doesn't want to be on. And so now it's air fried. Yeah. It's just all the food that comes out of an air fryer is, I feel like it's depressed and sad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I guess if that's what you're doing, I'll just spend the rest of the episode being depressed and sad.
Isn't that how you spend most of the episodes?
That's how I spend most of my life. In general. So.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way.
Now that we have that all worked out.
As previously stated, we are going to be tic-tac-toeing into Angel Season 1, Episode 21, the 21st episode of the series overall, and our penultimate episode for season 1. Blind Date, our episode credited director this week is Thomas J. Wright, and our credited writer is Janine Renshaw. Our original air date was May 16th, 2000 on the now defunct WB network. Sorry. Our Nielsen rating was 3.7 million households when it first aired, ranking it 75th out of the 122 network primetime shows for the week and second out of the 16 primetime shows airing on the WB for the week. Our regular cast, as always, includes David Boreanaz as Angel, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, and Alexis Denisoff as Wesley. Our guest stars this week include Christian Kane as Lindsay, Thomas Burr as Lee, Stephanie Romanoff as Lila, Sam Anderson as Holland, J. August Richards as Gunn, Jennifer Badger Martin as Vanessa Weeks, Kehlani Smith as Mind Reader number 1, Dawn Shugs as Mind Reader number 2, Risha Kumar is Blind Child number 1, Karen Liu as Blind Child number 2, and Alex Buck as Blind Child number 3. My episode synopsis this week reads, a renegade attorney from Wolfram and Hart joins forces with Angel in an attempt to stop a blind assassin from killing 3 children who threaten the firm.
Wow. Okay, this is a first. I think we have the exact same fucking synopses.
Really?
Yeah.
Like word for word?
Word for word. So
wow.
where did you say you normally get yours from?
I just pull them off of Google. If you type in...
So whoever put it on Google for this episode just stole it off IMDb.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, could be. But I would tend to believe your Google nerds probably stole it from the IMDb nerds.
Maybe. Because I literally, like, before we start recording a season, I'll literally type in, like for this, I type in Angel Season 1 episodes. And it'll pull up a list of all Angel Season 1 episodes with an episode description, and that's what I use.
Huh. Well, I think that's a first that we've had the exact same, like, word for word.
Yeah, I know a couple weeks ago we had...
Yeah, we're close.
Yeah, it was just a couple of words off, but yeah, wow. All right, then.
For a word.
All right, then. Well, we open with, of course, we get a previously on Angel montage and, shows us some bits with Lindsay and Wolfram and Hart and Gunn, our newest addition to Team Angel. What?
It's not out in the open yet.
Yeah, it is.
Not that he's going to be a full-time member that actually is in the opening credits.
Dude, when he was introduced last week, we said he is in every episode of the show from here on out.
Oh. My bad.
So yeah, we get a previously on Angel. We get some tidbits with Lindsay and Wolfram and Hart and all that stuff and Gunn. And then we cut to 2 toy soldiers on a sidewalk, and we hear a voiceover from a man selling them, and he's saying that there's only 2 left, and I'll cut you a deal. They're real collector's items. You won't be sorry. And as he's talking, we see he's talking to 2 little boys. But we also see that there's a blind woman walking down the sidewalk, and she's tapping her way in front of her with her cane.
I was going to say, you make it sound like she was tap dancing.
She's tap dancing.
She's tap dancing down the sidewalk, and she's totally blind, so she's like knocking shit over and like kicking people in the shins. And
Right. And we hear this man tell the 2 kids, just turn them on and let them go. And we see the 2 boys pool their money together, and they give it to the man, and he said,
He's like,
nice
thanks, suckers, and he runs off with their shit and takes the toys.
Right. No, he says, nice doing business with you, and he finally sees the blind woman, and he tells her to hold on, and she stops, and he moves some of his merchandise out of the way and tells her okay, and she continues past him, tapping as she goes. And then we cut to a vampire come flying over some boxes in a warehouse, and Angel gets ready to stake it, but before he can, he's jumped by another vampire from behind and drops the stake, and he fights the two of them off and dusts one and gets kicked in the face by the other, and he ends up wrapping a chain around the other vampire's neck and hoists him up into the air. And this is a pretty fucking cool kill. So he wraps the chain around the vampire's neck, pulls him into the air, and then slides him across the rail that the chain's like latched into on an overhead track into a piece of wood that's sticking out from a stack of pallets, and fucking dusts him.
Yeah, it was dope.
As Angel's getting ready to leave, he hears a man groaning, and he follows the noise, and he sees a middle-aged black man on the ground holding his stomach, and he stumbles into the factory or warehouse where Angel is and slides down the wall by the doorway, and Angel goes over to check on him, but he hears something, and he straightens up, alerting himself, and all of a sudden we see the blind woman grab Angel by the throat and fucking throw him against the wall. Angel comes back at her swinging, but she anticipates every one of Angel's moves and easily avoids them. And Angel can't seem to land a single hit. He finally managed to get a hit in, and he knocks her glasses off, and we see that her eyes are completely white. She is actually blind. And she grabs Angel again and throws him across the room, and by the time he gets up, she has disappeared. And that is our cold open.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, during the fight, when he's fighting the two vampires, what did you think of the part when they all three stopped and they started doing the Thriller fucking dance, and it was like perfectly choreographed?
It was, it was a little weird, like out of the blue like that. But it was still better than the entirety of the Initiative and Adam storyline in Buffy Season 4.
Well, Anal Warts is probably better than the entire storyline of Adam and Buffy, or Adam and the Initiative in Buffy Season 4. So,
True.
I'm not sure that's saying a lot. It's kind of like being the nicest guy in prison.
It's true.
Anyway, when Angel returns to Angel Investigations, Cordy is here we go with the magic computer machine. So she just types in blind woman murder on the quote internet. So I guess one is led to believe that she's just typing this into a search engine, and it pulls up exactly, and I mean exactly, what she wants it to pull up. And she's like, "Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, she blah 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 blah. And, yeah, it's just a human. She's not a demon." And the search further leads them on to a Vanessa Brewer, who is a career criminal, having been arrested several. Here's another awesome thing. Apparently, on their internet, in the Buffyverse, it will tell you everything you want to know about a person, no matter how private the details.
Before you go any further, I have a question. Did Vanessa, the actress playing Vanessa, look familiar to you?
I thought that at first, and then I was like, and I guess not. I guess I don't recognize her.
She looks a lot like Eliza Dushku.
I don't know about that.
She does. Because that's what I thought. I mean, I was like, man, she looks like at the very least, she looks like she could be Dushku's like sister or something.
Maybe it's a stunt double.
It is.
Really?
It turns out that she stunt doubled for both Charisma and Eliza.
Well, I'll be damned.
So yeah. One of the rare instances where your stunt double actually looks like your star.
It kind of makes sense because she doesn't really have. What does she have? Like 2 or maybe 3 lines in the whole episode.
Yeah, she doesn't really have a lot of dialogue.
There's not like a lot of acting she needs to do. It's almost all physicality.
Fighting.
Yeah. So makes sense. But yeah, she's been arrested several times and is currently on trial for murder. So here's another stupid thing. First of all, that Cordelia was able to just type in blind woman murder and pull this up, then get her name, Vanessa Brewer, then find out her total criminal history, and that she happens to be on trial for murder right now, which, as we all know, if you're on trial for murder, you're not in jail during that time. You're left to walk around the streets and kill more people. So, yeah, who knows? And she discovers that Wolfram and Hart is representing Vanessa pro bono, which they surmise must mean that she's probably helping them out in some way. I wonder how this blind woman, who appears to be helpless, but is actually a master assassin and hand-to-hand combatant, could possibly help Wolfram and Hart. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait, James, and find out. So then we cut to, I'm assuming it's the same day, and it's court. And Lindsey McDonald is...
Don't say that name ever again on this podcast.
is arguing with the judge that Vanessa's disability obviously makes it impossible for her to be guilty of this murder that she's up for, and obviously absolves her from any suspicion. And at this point, Angel enters the courtroom rather loudly, and I mean, he kicks the fucking door open, like flies into the room. He's grabbed by the bailiffs, but he wings something across the fucking courtroom, and blind Vanessa just shoots her hand up and catches it perfectly. And it's her blind person sunglasses, whatever you want to call them. Her
sunglasses.
I mean, I didn't know if they have another name. I don't know. So she catches them, thus apparently showing everyone, like, this would immediately be a mistrial. I mean, immediately, because that would taint the jury, and the judge would have no choice but to be like, well, fuck, this is a mistrial. We're gonna have to fucking, but no. And also, how did he get into whatever? Dumb, that whole scene. But the jury ends up failing to return a verdict, and Vanessa's acquitted. So this murder trial lasted apparently all of a whole day. Mm-hmm. So they must not have cared about whoever the dead person was that she killed.
Well, we don't know how long the trial's been going on.
Yeah, but he's arguing in court when court opens, like, the judge should just dismiss these charges immediately because it's clear that she couldn't be guilty since she's blind. And then she catches this fucking pair of sunglasses right out of the sky, but the jury's still like,
he was probably delivering his closing arguments.
And the jury's totally like, oh, Well, that was just a fluke that she caught those. No, she couldn't possibly have killed this guy. And when they say that the jury failed to return a verdict, I guess it was a hung jury, is what I'm assuming. They don't say, so that doesn't mean she's acquitted. That just means basically mistrial, and then the prosecution, I guess, can refile charges. You know, that's how it works in the real world. But we're in the Buffyverse. So later on, we're in Wolfram and Hart's offices, and Lindsay's standing outside, and he's from afar. He's watching this murderous blind chick meeting with his bosses, and Holland Manners. This is the first time we've met Mr. Manners, correct? Yeah, this is the first episode he's been in. We come to find out he's basically in charge of the area that Lindsay works in. So it's Lindsay's boss, basically. And Holland waves him over, and he comes over, and he's Holland is talking him up to Bill and Chuck, who are also there for doing so well in court in this case. And Vanessa takes Lindsay's hand and says, thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it. And she slips him a $1 bill into his
into his jacket pocket.
Yeah, into his jacket pocket. And she's like, now don't go spending that all in one place. So they all fuck off except for Holland, who asks for Lindsay to stay behind. And so he's talking to Lindsay about, all the hardships, shit that Lindsay's gone through over the past year, and namely the poor decision to send Faith after Angel. And he's coming across Holland comes across very sincere, but also just very fucking creepy and evil. And this guy's wacky. But he's telling, Lindsay, he's like, listen, you're never going to find your...
I didn't think about this till you just said that. He's very reminiscent, minus the abject quirkiness, of the mayor.
Yeah. Although I do like the mayor, the character better.
Yeah, but Lindsay has that, or not Lindsay, Holland, for lack of a better term, has that wholesome sincerity to him.
Yeah.
But there's that underlying, like, this dude is evil,
Yeah. This dude's evil and very creepy. So he basically has a heart-to-heart with Lindsay and tells him that Lindsay's never going to be happy until he figures out his place in the world. And Lindsay's like, wow, thanks, vague Yoda. So then the conversation turns back to Vanessa, and Holland tells Lindsay it'd be a good idea to start working on a tragic and abusive history for her. Because she's been asked to do another job for Wolfram and Hart. And chances are slim that she'll be caught again, but just in case, he needs to get this fake history created for her to present to a potential jury. And Lindsay's basically like, okay, so what is it she's going to do for us? And Holland just says that there's some children arriving in L.A. that could pose a threat to Wolfram and Hart. At which point, if I had been Lindsay, I'd have been like, wait, I'm sorry. Could you go back to the part where you said there's some children arriving who could be a threat to us? Like, in what could you be a little more specific? And he kind of asked that, like, can you be a little more specific? And Holland's basically like, yeah, need to know. And Lindsay's like, all right, fine, fuckface. And then he slaps him and leaves.
Wait, no, doesn't Holland tell him that she's gonna kill the kids?
No. He does not tell him that yet. He does not know that. He just Holland just says that they pose a threat, and Lindsay says something like, I don't know, like what kind of threat, or okay, well then what are we gonna do? And Holland says something along the lines of it's a need to know fucking kind of thing, and you don't need to know. Because he said, Holland actually says, how does he say that? Damn it. He says it like, knowing might make, how does he fucking say that? I can't remember, but basically saying, well, maybe that's just a little too much for you to handle at this point, kind of thing. I don't know, but look it up. I don't know. You'll find it. Why am I doing it?
I am actually right now.
And it says,
keep going. I'll let you know when I get there.
Okay. We cut to Angel investigations, and Wesley is explaining that Vanessa can see outside the spectrum of normal human sight. And I think this is the part, I don't have it in here, but I think this is the part where he kind of.
Okay, so yeah, Lindsay's like, what's she gonna do? Holland, there's some children arriving. They pose a threat. Lindsay, some children. Holland, is this too shocking for you? Lindsay, I'm just thinking it might be for a jury. So Holland doesn't say it, but Lindsay knows that.
Right. Then what does Holland say? Like, does he say something after that? Like,
he says, which is why I'm thinking her terrible, terrible childhood drove her to it. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Of course, the odds of her getting caught again are pretty slim. Lindsay, who are these children? Holland, it's best we know only what we need to, without forgetting the important part we play in the greater whole.
There it is. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, he doesn't say that she's going to kill the children, but
Lindsay knows.
Right. It's definitely implied. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the part where Wesley explains how she got this ability. Basically, had to give up her sight in order to become this masterful Chuck Norris or whatever. I think it's was it a demon pact or was it a spell? I can't remember.
I believe it was a spell.
Yeah, something along those, something supernatural and yada yada. So, and then this is kind of a weird place, like a weird little thing, but Angel all of a sudden gets super fucking emo, and he's just like, he gets really down in the dumps about Wolfram and Hart and how they're, making up their own rules, and he's not even part of the world, so how can he fight them? And he just gets really fucking emo all of a sudden, and Wes is like, dude, quit being a bitch. And Angel's like, you're right. I am being very bitchy. I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird, puts out a weird vibe, and it seems to be in a weird place where it didn't quite fit. It was just odd. Anyway,
I don't think so. Like he just found out that Vanessa got acquitted. So he's upset that.
But it's Wolfram and Hart. He knows how dirty they are. Like, why is it so emo?
But that's kind of his point. Like, that's the point he's making. Like, how is he supposed to fight? He says, how am I supposed to fight evil if they won't even put it behind bars? And Cordy's like, it's not your fault. And he says, no, it's not my fault. I didn't cause it, but I can't fix it. I can't do anything about it. She's guilty. She's guilty, and they let her go. She murdered a man right in front of me, and I can't even testify to that fact in a court of law. It's their court, not mine. Their rules, their game.
Right.
I have no place in their world.
Right, exactly. The point I'm trying to make is, you've never tried to be a part of their world. You're doing your angel thing. You don't work through the courts. You don't work through. That's never been a thing. You go out and you go out and handle this like you have. Okay, how did he handle the fucking vampire dickhead in the first episode? He walked into Wolfram and Hart and shoved that motherfucker out the window. He didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like all of a sudden he's concerned about the courts and putting things behind bars. No, that's not what you do. That's not what you've ever done. You handle it the way you always handle supernatural things. You fucking handle it. So it just seems out of nowhere to me, but whatever. Oh, so while he's having his emo fest, suddenly Lindsay walks into the office and just says, "I want out." And Angel's like, "I don't give a fuck," and he punches Lindsay right in the Adam's apple, and it kills. No, Angel is very doesn't give a fuck, and he's just like, "Why would I care? Why you know?" And Lindsay explains. Yeah, I love this exchange though, dude. Where Lindsay gives this real long spiel about, you know, he grew up in abject poverty and, you know, all these things, and then they came one day and took the family home, and there was nothing anybody could do about it, and right then, he decided he'd become powerful to keep things being taken away from him ever again, which is why he, you know, became a lawyer and joined Wolfram and Hart. And and then Angel goes, "Okay, where's the part where you become evil?" And like he gives fucks.
And I think right before that, Angel's like Lindsay's telling the story, and Angel's like,
"Oh yeah,"
like pretends to fall asleep,
snoring and shit, and I'm like, "God, this is great. This is fucking great." Anyway, then Lindsay tells him that Vanessa has been contracted for another job in which she's going to assassinate some children. And Angel's like, "Well, can I eat them first?" And Lindsay's like, "What?" And he's like, "What?" And then they both just look at each other kind of strangely, and no. So nobody's like,
what? Can I eat them first? What? Huh?
Can I eat them first? And he goes, "What?" He goes, "What?"
What?
And then they both just eye each other down, and Angel's like, "Oh, but really, what do you think they'd say?"
Like, just so
like you don't know how
so
good.
Poor, huh? You grew up poor? That's wow, so man, that's crazy.
What are you saying about being really poor? Because I want to. What? I'm sorry. Yeah. Shit. Where did I leave? Oh yeah. So that kind of perks Angel's interest at that point, but he's still. You can tell he's very leery about trusting anything coming from Lindsay. But he's like, "Look, you're going to need information. I'm going to need," or he says, "I'm going to need information, you know, that you're going to have to provide." And Lindsay's like, "I can't go back in there." You know, he talks about mind readers, and he's just like, "Oh, I go back in there, I'm fucking dead." And Angel's like, I don't give a fuck. Like that's not a problem. He says that's an acceptable risk. I think he says.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure Angel's like that's what we call an acceptable risk.
Yeah, he gives no fucks.
I'm like, damn, dude.
And then Lindsay's like, "Okay, so if I do this and get myself killed, then will you trust me?" And Angel's like, a little bit.
It'll be a start.
Yeah. So later on, they're planning out what they're going to do with Angel and Lindsay breaking into Wolfram and Hart. Lindsay's like, "I can leave my pass for you downstairs. That'll get you into the vault where you need to find these, I don't know, magical butt plugs that tell you everything you need to know." And Angel's like, "Why would they be in butt plugs?" And Lindsay's like, "You don't want to know. You don't want to know."
Lindsay's like, "It's an evil law firm, dude. Like, what do you expect?"
Everything is stored in butt plugs there. So, let's see. Yeah, because and then he says, you have all these things he's going to have to go through. He's like, "First of all, we have these, or I think he calls them seers, that like as soon as a fucking vampire crosses the threshold of Wolfram and Hart, they're going to alert, everyone. And Angel's like, that won't be a problem. And everybody's like, oh, okay. You're going to just cure yourself real quick and be human for this mission. Angel's like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And they're like, okay. And then he's like, and then once you get through all the other bullshit and you get to the vault, as soon as you get into the vault, it's guarded by a fucking demon. He's like, what kind of demon? And he's like, a demon. And Wesley's like, okay, I'll go look up some info on this fuckface and figure out how you can take him out. Later on that night, Angel shows up at Gunn's, I don't know what you want to call it, his place, his neighborhood, whatever. And he's asking him for a favor, and Gunn's basically like, yeah, not interested, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, Angel's like, it's going to be super fucking dangerous and deadly. Gunn's like, okay, I'm in. and Angel's like, okay, cool. So we cut to the next day at Wolfram and Hart. And who does Lindsay run into at Wolfram and Hart, James?
Lila Morgan.
Yeah. And she's on fire, actually. Her hair is actually burning.
Her hair is just set ablaze, but she's completely calm about it. Which is the
she's
weird
just
part.
acting like everything, like she's just having a normal conversation.
Right.
She's like, my hair's on fire. I don't care. I'm Lila Morgan.
Right. It's really weird. No. She is surprised to see Lindsay heading towards the records room. Because she's like, I heard you don't do any of your own reading or research or anymore or anything like that. And
he's like, well, I don't. I've got this guy, James. He does most of that bullshit for me. But he's actually he's indisposed right now. He's doing his podcast, so I have to do his podcast,
so I have to do it myself. No, and he makes some crack about like, don't let him know you're still willing to do the work or something like that. And so she leaves, and or he goes into the records room and closes.
I was going to just ask you really quick. Okay, like you said, he walks in and closes the door, and she walks off. Do you think not him, do you think she bought that? Do you think she buys it? His explanation? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure if I thought how I felt one way or the other. I was like, because we learn a lot more about Lila as the show goes on, and she's a pretty smart cookie, but she just knows shit. And I was like, right. I wonder if she's smelling through this or if she bought that explanation. But you're saying you think she bought it.
I think she bought it. I think if she didn't, then...
Well, because she stood there for a minute and just gave it a look like, it's not right here.
So here's the tough thing. Like, and we've talked about this before, you kind of have to take things, as best we can, we have to try to do these episodes forgetting about what we know.
No. I 100%. I know what you're going to say and what you're saying.
So
my only thing is that they showed her. They purposefully showed her on camera after he went in and closed the door. They purposefully showed a shot of her standing there for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, like looking at the door, like I don't know about all this,
I think she was just affronted that he just closed. That's like essentially slammed the door in her face like that.
Okay,
that's what I think the look was.
All right, fair enough. I would just I couldn't decide in my own mind how I felt, so I thought, well, I'm going to ask him what he thought when that shot was shown.
Yeah, I think she was just affronted because he just shut the door in her face like that. And also, and again, like, and I hate to say this because it pulls from knowledge that we have of things down the line, but also if she for a moment doubted what he was saying, she would have ratted him out in a fucking heartbeat.
Okay. I don't know.
But,
I don't know about that. But okay.
but again, that stance comes from like knowledge of future Lila, like how she is as the show progresses.
Okay.
So,
fair enough.
but I think just taking it from this standpoint of this episode, and if you forget what's to come, I think she was just taken aback by the fact that he basically just slammed the door in her face.
Okay. Fair enough.
So she leaves, and he peeks his head out the door to make sure she's gone, and he continues on to where he was really going.
Which was to the boys' room because he has to take a massive shit.
Which was actually to leave his security pass affixed to the underside of a fire extinguisher for Angel.
Fuck, I thought that was a water fountain.
And he heads back. He heads back upstairs while Angel's waiting for the right time to move in. We see. Also, we should mention. I don't know. Well, no, you wouldn't because I'm talking about the scenes right now. Angel is in the sewers underneath Wolfram and Hart, using a blowtorch to blowtorch a hole into the floor.
Yeah, and he's got his cool welding goggles on.
He's got his welding goggles on and
a full set of coveralls.
Yep.
Yep.
And I was like, and once he ignited the blowtorch, I was like, "Daddy."
Little bit of fantasy there.
I was like, "Daddy."
Blowtorch my nipples.
So we then see Gunn step into the lobby, and he's making a scene, causing a little bit of an uproar, and this is pretty funny. He's a good 25-30 feet away from the security guards, and all of a sudden he's like, "Ow! Did you step on my foot?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I feel like my civil rights have been violated," and this and that and everything else. And as he's going on, and some of his crew come in, and they're carrying this big bundle, and they drop it and unwrap it at the same time that Angel is now ascending through the hole he's cut into the floor. And when they unwrap it, it is revealed to be a vampire, which the vampire alarms go off. Everyone thinks it's this vampire. Angel's free and clear. The security guards give chase to the vampire, and they stake him as Angel is grabbing Lindsay's security pass and using it to enter the vault. As he's getting ready to enter the vault, he senses the demon Lindsay was talking about behind him, and he turns around and he punches the demon, and then he blows some dust into its face and just pushes it over.
Yeah, and it KOs. And that was really just asbestos he blew. He's like, mesothelioma. And that instantly killed that particular type of demon.
So Angel's in the vault, and he just grabs. I don't know how he knows which ones to grab, unless Lindsay knew which ones exactly to get. But he opens up a drawer and grabs a bunch of CDs that are labeled restricted access, and shoves them into his briefcase, because at this point he's ditched the coveralls and he's in a suit and tie, and he's got a briefcase, and he dumps them into his briefcase, and he's getting ready to leave, and he notices a long tube thing on display in the vault, covered in various symbols.
What's the tube look like, James? A
tube covered in symbols. He
wow.
Despite not knowing what it is, he feels compelled to grab it and does so. And when he does, it sets off an alarm, and a grate starts to drop over the door, but Angel's able to make it under before he gets trapped inside. And he's on his way back to the sewers, and he calls Lindsay and tells him that it's done, and Lindsay needs to get out of the building. As Lindsay tries to get out, he runs into some security guards and tries to avoid them, but quickly realizes that they're all over the place. And he runs into Lila, who tells him that they're doing a sweep. And Lindsay sees Holland heading into a conference room with 2 mind readers. And then we cut to that conference room where there's a bunch of people lined up. And what's going on there, Jeremy?
An orgy. There is a very sweaty, loud, almost unnecessarily loud orgy happening. Holland has tassels on his nipples, and fucking Lindsay's all covered his entire body in mayonnaise. It's really weird. No,
and Holland's just standing there, making his nipple tassels spin.
Yeah, he's like, look at this, bitch. They can do this when you get up in the fucking with the senior partners, motherfucker. No, they've got all the lawyers lined up, which it's weird. They've got maybe 5 of them all together. I'm like, where's literally everyone else in the building? They just decided they're gonna mind read these 5 people in particular. So then these 2 creepy looking fucking mind readers that apparently don't talk, or they only talk to I don't know. They're creepy looking. They walk up to each person one at a time and stare at them, apparently reading their thoughts. And Lindsay attempts to fill his brain with just images of goat porn. So that's all that they will be able to read. Lee Mercer, come to find out, has been in secret meetings with another law firm and had planned to leave Wolfram and Hart and take clients with him. So what does Holland do about this? That's right. He has a rent-a-cop put a bullet in Lee Mercer's brain, which is a thing that's done there. And Lindsay gets sprayed with fucking brain matter. And then Holland basically tells everybody to fuck off, but makes Lindsay stay behind because he's going to be receiving a spanking. And that was delayed. So he asked Lindsay if he's scared, and Lindsay's like, yeah. And Holland's like, that's understandable since one nod from me to the the fucking fat rent-a-cop behind you. It's apparently in his contract that he has to murder people for me. So, yeah, that guy will murder you if I tell him to. And Lindsay's like, wow, don't even get like a cool death. I just get shot by fucking Paul Blart over here. And Holland knows everything. And I'm like, okay, the mind readers read Lindsay's mind, and they literally said like 11 words to Holland. But those 11 words told Holland literally the entire story and the entire plan somehow. So he knows everything. Lindsay's like, I didn't want to lie or betray the firm. I just wanted to leave. And Holland's like, well, if you just wanted to leave, why didn't you just, I don't know. Let me think. Leave? So Lindsay's like, well, you're right. I kind of did fuck you guys over. Then Holland goes into this spiel again about, few men make their own destinies, but those who do have the courage of their convictions, and they know how to behave in a crisis. And he thinks that Lindsay has what it takes to be one of those type of men. And he thinks the problem is just that Lindsay just doesn't know where he belongs. And Holland decides he's not going to have Lindsay killed. Instead, he's going to have Paul Blart.
You keep calling them rent-a-cops, but who's to say that they're not 100% employed by Wolfram and Hart?
That's what a rent-a-cop is.
No.
Yes.
Oh, no, a rent-a-cop would be security you hire out from a security company.
Not necessarily. A rent-a-cop is somebody who you pay to be a cop who isn't a cop.
I'm sorry, you go ahead, but I disagree. When I hear the term rent-a-cop, I think of when you've hired out security from a security company to act as security. Not if you're an actual company that's hired someone to be security.
Well, it's the same fucking thing. They're still not cops.
And it doesn't. I'm sorry. It's probably nitpicky on my part, but I view it differently. So
well, it's okay to be wrong. So he's not going to kill Lindsay. Instead, he's going to give him a few days to figure out what he wants to do. And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, can't he just fuck off and leave town and then? I don't know. He's got all your dirty laundry. I don't know. I guess Holland's pretty trusting. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So Angel returns to Angel Investigations and kind of surprised that Lindsay's not there. And Cordy asks if Angel's going to go back, at which point Angel's like, yeah, no, because I don't like the guy. And also, I don't even like the guy. And then there's also the point that I don't like the fucking guy.
Plus, let's not forget about the fact I don't like the guy.
Yeah. So if he didn't get out, he's probably already dead. So who cares? Let's continue. And so he shows him the shit and everything. And Wesley finds the butt plug with symbols all over it that Angel took from the vault. And he's like, what's... And he opens it up, and there's like this rolled up, like really ancient-looking parchment in there. And he's like, did you take this, Angel? And I wanted Angel to be like, no, I've been carrying that around with me for ages.
It just stays in that briefcase.
Yeah, I literally keep it in that briefcase. It's been there for like, I don't know, 36, 37 years. But no, he's like, yeah, I took it. And Wesley's like, and why? And he's like, I have no idea. It like wanted me to take it. And Wesley's like, that makes perfect sense. But anyway, he's looking at it and he's like, this looks like ancient Aramaic. He's like, but I'll have to translate it because I don't speak it fluently. And it's like, really? You don't? Damn. What a shocker.
I bet Giles does.
Yeah, because he's a real watcher, fucker, Wesley. So, and Cordelia discovers at that same time that she's going to have to be doing some translating of her own because these discs that Angel took from the vault are, in fact, as always, encrypted, which is, for this era, utterly ridiculous. It's just so stupid. So what does she do? She places a call to Willow, who is helping her over the phone hack the computer. So that's what she's doing. And oh shit, you know what? This is the part where we actually find out how Vanessa got her powers and all that. Oopsie
Is it?
Oopsie poopsie.
But this is also funny because Cordelia says that Willow has also been hacking discs all day. So this is happening concurrently with the events of
Primeval.
Primeval, yeah.
And so that must mean that Willow's at Tara's dorm while they're having, or no, I guess she could have been at when she was first trying to do it. Maybe it could have been when she was still at Giles. Anyway,
right.
I guess it doesn't really matter. So where did I? Okay, so yeah, and now that she's got them unencrypted with her magic Willow hacking powers, she discovers more information about Vanessa. And apparently she blinded herself when she was 21, then trained with a group of monks, apparently magical monks, who believe that enlightenment is seeing with the heart and not the mind. And I'm like, no, seeing is definitely with the eyes. That's definitely how seeing works. And then they find out that she's supposed to kill these 3 children who are blind seers, that are part of the Holy Triumvirate, which is apparently we don't know what it is. It's called the Holy Triumvirate. So Lindsay finally arrives at the office, but doesn't bother telling them that he was completely caught. Holland knows everything, and that he had to actually give Holland a handy just to get out the door.
He was like, they could have tortured me, they could have killed me, they could have done anything, but instead I had to jerk off that old man just to get out of the building.
And dude, do you know how hard it is to find a button on a fur coat? Do you have any idea? Because I just had to. Okay. So yeah, he says the children have arrived in the country earlier that day, and they're staying with a guardian because their mentor hasn't arrived yet. So Angel tells Cordy and Wes to go intercept this mentor while he and Lindsay go to protect the children. And I'm like, wait a minute. Intercept the mentor where? How? How do they know who the mentor is? Are they going to hold up a sign at the airport that says mentor? ? Anyway. Then we cut to Vanessa arriving at what appears to be the safe house for these children, and immediately fucking murders the old guy who's looking out for the children while they're waiting for the mentor to arrive. I mean, just immediately, like just murder, immediate murder.
I don't mean to alarm you, but I want you to know it is storming terribly here right now. All of a sudden. And my electricity just flickered a wee bit, so we might want to try and get through this.
Oh my!
Toot sweet.
Okay, this is going to be a shorter episode than normal, folks, but here we go. Angel they come flying in. Angel says to Lindsay, "Get the kids out." Big fight happens between Angel and Vanessa. She's fucking owning Angel, and he realizes she's seeing me through her mind or whatever when I move. So he starts doing this fucking break dance basically with her, where he fucking stops and doesn't move, and she can't do nothing. Then he'll like pow, hit her real quick, and pow, and does all this shit. And
I really liked this fight scene. Like I did. I particularly liked the parts where we were seeing what she sees.
yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible or bad or anything, but I mean, I wasn't like it didn't do much for me.
Right.
Eventually, he positions himself like directly in front of her, and he's standing perfectly still, and then he's able to grab her cane and impale her with it, thus murdering a human. Good job, Angel. So the kids are safe, blah, blah, blah.
Yet no more than 10, 15 minutes ago, you were crying because Angel was being emo because he couldn't he couldn't put this lady behind bars.
No, I'm just saying if he's going to be... what he just did is exactly what he's always done, so I don't know why he was being so emo about, but I can't put her in jail. Well, just go murder her. You always do that. You've been eating people for 250 years. Where did I leave off? Okay. So we cut back to Angel Investigations, and Wes is telling Angel that he's deciphered the parchment, and it contains the prophecies of Aberjan, or Aberjan, whatever.
Aberjan,
which happens to mention a vampire with a soul. And Wes tells Angel that he may not know what his place is in this chaos, but he belongs somewhere in it. And I'm like, oh, fucking thanks. Goddamn fake Yoda again. Then we cut to Wolfram and Hart that night, and Lindsay has returned with the discs that he and Angel had stolen, and he gives them back to Holland and apologizes, saying, he's like, I'm sorry, but I did what I had to do. And Holland proclaims his rescue of the children quite noble, and says that Lindsay probably made copies of what was on the discs, and Lindsay's like, well, to protect my own life. And Holland's like, we're all part of something larger. And then he tells Lindsay that he handpicked him to join the firm because he saw potential in him. And Lindsay just stood up to the firm and won. And so Holland wants him to stay with him. In fact, he wants him to take his very job because Holland is moving on up to the east side. The next floor up, even closer to the senior partners. But he tells Lindsay, he's like, it's your choice. You can either take the job or walk out the door and no one will do anything to stop you. And Holland leaves and Lindsay heads towards the door, and instead of leaving, he closes the big double doors behind him in his new giant office, and Lindsay has doubled down on his evil. And he looks out the window at the city lights, and Angel is doing the same thing from elsewhere in the city. And that is our episode.
That is our episode. Jeremy?
Yes, sir?
Would you like to play the hottest game sweeping the nation right now? Guess the body count?
I would like to play.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is 5.
7.
Okay, I was close.
Our music this week, just our original score by Christoph Beck and Robert J. Kral, as usual. Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
On a scale of 1 to 5,
okay,
can you tell me and our audience how many shots of Angel looking over the city of Los Angeles do you give this episode?
It's a 3.5. It's above average. It's not great. The parts that annoyed me because I stopped to expound upon them a bit. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's also not stellar, but it's above average. It's above run of the mill. It's a solid episode. It moves us forward with a Wolfram and Hart, who we have mentioned before. Wolfram and Hart becomes kind of the the series big bad.
Right.
There's always big bads in the seasons, but they're kind of the overarching big bad. It sets us up with Lindsay, who becomes a pretty big antagonist. We'll put it that way. So yeah, it does set some shit up. So, and it's a solid episode. Just some of the parts that annoyed me, I brought up, but yeah, it's a 3.5, and that's all I got to say about it. James.
Yes, sir.
Tell myself and our fabulous audience on a scale of 1 to 5 butt plugs with symbols all over it. How many of those do you give this episode, and why?
I give this 4 butt plugs with symbols all over it.
Okay.
It's in my opinion, really good episode. It's not a 5, but there's in my opinion, there's damn near close to nothing wrong with it. I like the idea of the blind assassin. I like the character development for Lindsay. And spoiler alert, this is something they'll kind of toy with throughout the rest of the series with Lindsay. And honestly, to a degree, some other characters that we may have already been introduced to is kind of... And I think this is something that Angel overall does pretty well, is that I feel like it really tries to walk that gray line between good and evil with a lot of your characters.
Very gray.
Right. Because, again, this is something that is going to be touched on quite a few times with Lindsay, especially as the series progresses. And I don't... As of right now, I don't know that I would necessarily say Lindsay is evil, as opposed to he just wants to be as successful as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Which in its own right can lead to or be evil to a degree.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's really good character development for Lindsay. Like you said, it really pushes us forward with Wolfram and Hart being a series big bad overall. And with the prophecies of a Bergeron, it gives us another storyline that's kind of going to be played out throughout the course of the series overall. Yep. And that is Angel's role. Well, actually, we find out more about that in our season finale to Shanshu in LA. But yeah, the scrolls do reveal a plot thread that's going to play out throughout the rest of the series, which obviously we'll talk about more when we cover that episode in a couple weeks. But yeah, and listen, the chemistry between... I love scenes with Angel and Lindsay. They're phenomenal. The chemistry between those two is great, and I think that stems from the fact that they were friends for a long time before the show started. And it's my understanding that Boreanaz was instrumental in getting Christian Kane cast as Lindsay. So yeah, overall it's a 4 for me. So
good deal. Well, in the interest of keeping up with getting out of here before you happen to lose power, I'm just going to quickly tell everyone BuffyRevisited.com. It's going to take you to a page that's going to give you links to everything, including our Facebook, will give you links to everything, including our YouTube channel where you can watch this very episode or any of our past episodes. or any of our future episodes. Also, Buffy Revisited at gmail.com. Also, Buffy Revisited.printify.me. That is our merch store. You can pick anything up there you would like or not at all. Doesn't matter to us. Yeah, email us, leave comments on Facebook, leave comments on YouTube, however you would like to do it. Engage with us. We want to hear from you. But I'll leave it at that. James, do you have anything closing you want to throw out there?
No, sir, I do not.
All right. Well, we can't wait to see you next week for the final episode of Buffy Season 4, Restless. And until then, I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.